What's going on, guys? It's RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. And today we're going to discuss the Nintendo Switch 2 1-year review. It's been about a year since the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, so I have a lot I want to say about it. We're going to watch a clip from Happy Console Gamer, one of my favorite YouTubers. We're going to look at this clip and agree or disagree on what points he makes, and discuss what we think was good or bad about the Switch 2 in its 1-year review. Now, before we jump into the clip, let me just go ahead and say I'm going to give the Switch 2's first year an 8 out of 10. And I'm going to give some very brief positives and negatives. And I will get more in depth as we go along. But right off the bat, my real quick positives for the Switch 2 in year 1 would have to be stuff like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Those are 3 games that are really nice, really good games, that I believe I rated all 3 of those games a 10 out of 10, and they are definitely among the best. Now, where I'm disappointed with the Switch 2 is Metroid Prime 4 was not nearly as good as I thought it would be. A December release seemed to be a bad idea. There's a lot of games that didn't sell over a million plus. $70 price points seemed to have hurt a few games, like Mario Tennis Fever, which was a fine game, but under that price point didn't really succeed very well. I passed on a game like Yoshi in the New Book, and I hardly ever pass on big first-party Nintendo releases. Tomodachi Life, Pokemon Pokopia are games that I just don't care about, although some of those sold really well, and I can't complain even though those games weren't for me. And the other negative I do have to point out is Mario Kart World could have used some more DLC. It's been a year. We haven't gotten any new big tracks or anything like that. Sort of disappointing. We've also lacked some Nintendo Directs and whatnot. But don't let it be all negative. It's an 8 out of 10 for a reason. And that's because I still find myself, every few months, we get really big releases for Nintendo. And they're pretty consistent with their schedule. And although I do play my third-party stuff on the PS5, I do acknowledge the Switch 2 is getting a pretty fair amount of third-party content. If I only had one console to pick, I would pick the Switch 2 because it's getting enough third-party content while at the same time, it could improve a little bit, but while at the same time I'm getting that first-party Nintendo stuff. Luckily, I have both, and I do tend to prefer the third parties on the PS5. So overall, I would say this is an 8 out of 10 system, and it's actually cheap compared to its competitors. Look at how the Steam Deck has raised its prices, and yes, Switch 2 is raising its prices, but that's in the future. If you look at year 1 for Switch 2, those prices were pretty competitive, especially hindsight 2020, compared to what the prices of PS5s and Xboxes are, and now Steam Decks, and what you have to pay to get PC off the ground. Switch 2 is actually a steal at $500. Now, that being said, let's jump into the clip and get into some of the finer criticisms, shall we? And positives.
So, welcome to my 1-year review, my look back on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's been a year already. On June 5th, it will be a year. And I can't believe we've had a year with the Switch 2 already. Have you guys enjoyed the machine? Are you still waiting to get one? Let me know down below. And we have to go back to the beginning with the Nintendo Switch 1 that was released in March of 2017, right here. And this kind of came out. People were excited about it, but they didn't know really what to think or how big it would become. It would become one of the biggest selling consoles of all time.
Yeah.
155 million.
I think it's going to pass the PS2.
Being sold as of today, which is incredible. And the Switch 2 has sold around 19 million so far. So let's go back to the beginning. And the beginning was June 5th, 2025. We got the Nintendo Switch 2.
Gosh, I remember flipping the fuck out, freaking out that I wasn't going to be able to get one at launch because we know how the PS5 and the Series X launch went. and I'm just like got 3 tabs open to like different retailers. Just I'm trying to get my Switch 2 pre-ordered, and and then it comes out at launch, and there was plenty available on day one. Now, I gotta give a huge shout out to Nintendo for that too. That's another reason the score is as high as it is with an 8 out of 10, because they were actually keeping this console in stock, and that actually matters to me. To have the console in stock, to not let scalpers ruin shit. Nintendo did an excellent job maxing out all the sales they could, which is good for them and good for us, that we could actually go pick this stuff up.
Operation P.
Alright.
See, there was a lot of controversy, there was a lot of things building up to it. It wasn't a normal Nintendo release. People were angry, people were upset, some people were very excited, and we're going to talk about all of those things today. And I'll say that I was excited. I've always been excited about the software, about the games. The one thing that was a little bit strange, a little bit weird, and something that I started to talk about in my initial video talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 was the key cards. And I'm not going to make this an entire key card episode, but it was...
And that is a little ding too. I didn't even bring that up because, to be honest, I've embraced all digital, but I don't like the key card situation. I do think they could have handled that a lot better. It's still better than other solutions, though.
It was fascinating because we were getting Nintendo Switch 2 games on cartridge. They were on the cards, but third-party games were not on the card. You had to download them. They were game key cards. And that was something that we did not expect at first, and we still have a hard time wrapping our heads around it. I know a lot of people say, oh, you know what, I'm not bothered about that. I don't care about keycard games, downloading them, because PlayStation and Xbox have been doing it for years. You bring up a very good point. And my counterpoint has always been that Nintendo was our last vigil. It really was. So when all of a sudden keycards were established as the way and as the format going forward, it left a lot of people's feathers ruffled, including mine.
Yeah, if you really care about physical games that play completely offline, from the beginning, it's getting really hard out there for y'all collectors that really care about that really don't want to have to do the keycard thing or the downloading thing or whatever. It's getting slim pickings, and really, it's on its last legs anyway. Consoles, the next cycle, I feel. Maybe we'll have a disc drive attachment. Like PS6, maybe a disc drive attachment. Xbox, no way. It's going completely all digital. But I think consoles after that, even if there is any, like PS7, it's just no even attachment. It's just digital. You know what I mean? It's just going to be it's going that direction. It's just the way it is, unfortunately.
So it was an unusual launch because people were upset about the price of the Nintendo Switch 2. They were upset about the price of the games and the key cards.
Looking back on the price thing, I didn't think the price was that bad to start with. You know what I mean? I even was like, look, it's $450 or it's $500 with Mario Kart. I had no problem with that price. I thought that price was just fine. I do think $80 Mario Kart was stupid. Hindsight 2020. That just was a bad PR move. It should have never been sold at $80. I don't think Nintendo's going to sell any more games at $80, to be completely honest. I think they're sticking to $70 max. And Nintendo, if anything, they've improved the situation because now they say you're $10 cheaper for digital for everything. So, games are effectively $60 buying digital. I've always felt like digital games should be cheaper than at retail. You're cutting out a middleman so you could share that cost-saving measures onto the consumer. PlayStation and Xbox should be doing the same thing. They don't. And, but, I know the ultimate goal is they're trying to get out retailers so they can get more revenue. Again, if it helps the consumer in that way, I don't mind.
So this thing was going to bomb, right? No, it didn't bomb, in fact. It sold 3.5 million units in the first 4 days. Even I was kind of surprised by that. But again, not too surprised coming off the Switch 1's major success.
Yeah, people
And
were
there's a lot
waiting
to
for this
like
upgrade.
about the Nintendo Switch 2. One of the things
I wasn't surprised at all that it sold as well as it did. It's tapered off a little bit, actually, but 19 million first year, I kind of expected it, to be completely honest.
was and is the backwards compatibility that you can get Nintendo Switch games and play them on the Switch 2. And like a lot of you out there, we all have backlogs, huge Nintendo Switch libraries that we love, and we want to play it on the new Switch. And now we could do that. That was a big selling point for a lot of people, including myself. I thought, that's great.
Yeah.
I can play all my Switch games on my Switch 2.
Backwards compatibility. I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot of people that say, well, backwards compatibility doesn't matter. No, it matters a lot. It truly does. Like, Nintendo, understandably, have had a hard time always having backwards compatibility. For example, you couldn't do NES to Super Nintendo. Okay? You couldn't do Super Nintendo to the N64. You couldn't do N64 to the GameCube. However, they did do GameCube to the Wii, which was nice. And they did Wii to the Wii U. They obviously couldn't do Wii U to the Switch because they changed formats, but as soon as they got back to cartridges on the same format, they went Switch to Switch 2. Backwards compatibility, it's always a nice transition for people to go to the next generation. There are people that care about their libraries. Yes, there's many different gamers. Some, like me, don't really care about keeping around a big backlog or a library or need the backwards compatibility as much. We're just ready for the next thing, the new thing. We sell off physical discs as we go. We don't collect. We put that money towards buying new stuff when we did GameStop shit. Now we're all digital, right? That's gamers like me. Some gamers, they have the first game they ever bought, and they keep that for the rest of their life and carry over their libraries, and they love backwards compatibility, and there's millions out there like that. It helps with this transition. And especially when you're going Switch to Switch 2, it is expected to have backwards compatibility. And I think they did a pretty good job at doing that, which is another good point in its favor.
So yeah, that made it the fastest selling Nintendo console of all time. And that is a big surprise. It is a big surprise. Again, coming off the Switch 1, maybe not so much, but it was still fascinating. So what did it launch with? It launched with the system itself, and it launched with Mario Kart World. And what did you guys think of this game? Personally, I really like this game quite a lot.
By the way, Mario Kart World is definitely a good launch title. It was a great idea to launch with that game. Now, I think you could argue maybe people like 8 Deluxe more and that style, but I give Mario Kart World credit for trying something new, even if it wasn't for everybody. I enjoy the game a lot. When you look back at big launch titles on Nintendo consoles, day of launch titles, NES, Mario Bros., Super Nintendo, Super Mario World, N64, Mario 64, GameCube, it was Luigi's Mansion. You got Melee in the launch window, though. We had Twilight Princess and, of course, Wii Sports. Wii U had New Super Mario Bros. U and Nintendo Land. And Switch 1 had Breath of the Wild. Switch 2 coming out with Mario Kart World is at least better than half of those offerings, maybe. Right? It's a solid Game 1 launch. Alright? That being said, if you go launch window, including Donkey Kong Bonanza in there, which was my game of the year in 2025, absolutely is one of the best 1-2 punches I've ever seen for a console coming out the gate. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they've done a ton to build on that momentum since those first 2 games. They've had some good selling games like Tomodachi Life and Pocopia and reviewed fine, right? That aren't quite for me. They obviously, I really loved Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, but that didn't get great reviews from people, although I love it. Metroid was a little disappointing. A lot of these games are getting high 70s, low 80s on Metacritic, and we haven't had much of a breakthrough into the 90s, to be completely honest. And I think we're all kind of on pins and needles waiting for the next big 3D Mario, which I feel like is so late to the party.
But I don't like it as much as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because I think that is the perfect Mario Kart racing game. But this was huge. Some of these levels are gigantic. Knockout mode was incredible. I talked about it a lot before, and I thought the graphics were really, really good. And it's a very solid kart racing game on the Switch 2. Is it a system seller? Well, it would appear that it was. It has a high attachment rate as well to consoles. So basically, everybody who bought a Switch 2 bought a copy of Mario Kart World.
Or got the bundle.
It also came with the Pro Controller right here, and I've gone on record to say that I think this is one of the best Nintendo controllers of all time.
I agree.
I really do. I think it's fantastic. It really feels great in your hands.
The Switch 2 Pro Controller is fucking awesome.
And yes, there's been some drift issues, I understand, with some of the Joy-Cons. A lot of that got fixed. But just for the controller alone, I love using this controller.
I made sure to pick that up.
It feels
It's like almost
really
$100.
great. And it came with the camera right here. This was the Nintendo Switch camera. And
I didn't get the
I also
camera.
have it just right here so you can see.
Well, again, I don't... So, that's another thing where the system could have been better. Okay, you gave us the camera. Okay, how come we can't stream directly to YouTube? You know what I mean? Like, PlayStation lets you stream directly to YouTube. Don't know why Xbox didn't follow suit and they just got Twitch. I don't know why Nintendo isn't doing that. You guys realize that's just free promotion, right? Like, I'm waiting for the console that just has it built in where you could stream directly to Rumble, directly to Twitch, directly to Kick, directly to YouTube, directly to Facebook, Twitter, and multi-stream to these places, like, with an easy user interface. Like, that should be the future. And let people promote your games by playing. As a content creator, it would be nice. I have to sit there and turn my fucking computer onto the television so people can watch me play Switch 2 stuff. It shouldn't be that way. And I know what people are saying. Get a capture card. Get a capture card. Dude, just build it into the system like the PlayStation did for YouTube and a bunch of other streaming services too while we're at it. The Switch 2 came out years after the PS5. Social media is only more influential. Nintendo's a little late on the times with these things. So, that being said, why the fuck do I need a camera for?
What were my thoughts about the camera? I'll be honest with you. I don't like the camera at all. I think it's low resolution. I was very disappointed by it. I can see for party games getting some usage out of it. But for me personally, as I tried it, I was just like, I don't think I'm ever going to use this thing.
I like game
it's
chat,
better
though.
if I just FaceTime a friend real quick.
But really, they got to get rid of the friend code thing. They should be able to just add stuff like how PlayStation does.
It could be a lot of fun. I'm just saying my personal opinion. This is my review.
Again, a couple of these things that Nintendo is getting better at is good. Like online features, game chat stuff. But it's still woefully behind what a PlayStation or an Xbox does. And if they really want to be on that level, and then with the third parties, with online, then they have to step up that game for the next system. Or create firmware updates for this system to make it better. And that will be my suggestion for year 2, year 3. Make that online infrastructure more desirable.
I didn't really like the camera too much. And with the Switch 2 came GameCube Nintendo Classics.
Okay. So, this is both good and bad here. The GameCube Nintendo Classics, we have 9 games as of the time of this recording. We got like a Fire Emblem, a Chibi Robo game, a Wario game, Soul Calibur 2, Wind Waker, and a couple others, right? Luigi's Mansion. And it's like, dude, this is a pet peeve of mine. Nice to have GameCube games, but where's Sunshine? Where's Double Dash? Where's Melee? Where's Metroid Prime 1 and 2? Where's Twilight Princess? Where's Paper Mario Thousand Year Door? I just named probably the 7 best GameCube games, and they're all missing. Legitimately missing. They do have Mario Strikers on there. That's nice. But there's Mario Party's not there. Like, they could do a lot more with this service. 9 games in a year for GameCube. Just ridiculous. Ridiculous. We need more than that.
They even released a GameCube controller right here because they were releasing GameCube games on the Switch 2. And we were getting games like...
I even see Mario Sunshine here in the... I'm watching, like, the trailer. Mario Sunshine's the first game shown for GameCube Classics.
Soul Calibur 2, Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, Path of Radiance, and a whole bunch more. And I gotta say, I do enjoy this. Obviously, you need a Nintendo account to enjoy this, to use the online features to be able to play these games. That's one of the things about
We pay $50 a year. You can give us some more games for the GameCube stuff. You know?
But I really love it to be able to play some of those old GameCube games in high res instead of pulling out my system, in my old system, and having to upscale it all. I like it in one system for sure, and I think Wind Waker looks really good. I love playing Soul Calibur 2, and for anybody who gets a chance to play Path of Radiance, that is up there as one of my favorite Fire Emblem games of all time.
I've been playing a lot of that, actually.
The Switch 2 also launched with Welcome Tour. And what was Welcome Tour? I think a lot of us know what that was all about now. It's some software
Ass
you can download
game.
separately, kind of like some mini games that teaches you how to use your Nintendo Switch 2.
Should have been a pack
I
in.
know I'm beating a dead horse on this one, and I'm not going to go too far on it, because a lot of you also think the same. It should have been included with the Nintendo Switch 2 as built-in software. I know if Reggie was still around...
Yeah, that's kind of like on Astro's Playroom. Astro's Playroom much better than Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. But Astro's Playroom was free with the PS5. And Welcome Tour should have been free. Okay, $10 is too much to ask for that tech demo.
He would have done that, just like he packed Wii Sports in with the Wii. One of the greatest moves in history. Absolutely. And it would have been nice just to have that included with the Switch 2 as some software included. That would have been cool, you know, but they decided not to do that. And with the Switch 2 came some enhancements for some older games. So some games are getting a boost in the resolution department, some to 4K, some to 60 frames a second.
Excellent.
Great examples of
They did that.
are Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. And both
Look
of
a
these
lot
versions
better.
here have been upgraded. So the original versions obviously had some frame rate issues. I talked about that in my initial reviews where it would slow down a little bit at certain times when there was a lot going on the screen. That's gone. That's gone for these versions of the game. And you can also just enhance the versions that you have to 4K, 60 frames a second. And I gotta say, playing them, it almost makes them seem like brand new games. It really does. And for anybody out there, if there's anybody out there who has never played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, oh my god, this is the way to go to play these games.
Yeah.
60 frames a second.
Yeah, if you didn't
4K.
already put hundreds of hours into those two games, playing those games 4K 60, I mean, that's gotta be great. Like, that's gotta feel awesome.
Resolution, phenomenal experience. These games are already 10 out of 10 games, but having that enhancements there really does a lot. And there's just been so many improvements for so many other games, and that is something that I really, really have enjoyed with the system, putting in old games and getting those enhancements.
Now, let me explain something, though. I will say this. The first year, the enhancements to old games, definitive editions that have been released, you know, that they've released with extra DLC and stuff, backwards compatibility, smooth transitions, all that stuff matters only to me a lot in the first year. Grading the Switch 2 in the second year will be a lot harsher. And will not even really include those things unless they take those away and then they're getting dinged. They did great with the transition, which is a lot of the reason they're getting 8 out of 10. But year 2 will not be graded that way. Year 2 is going to be strictly about what's going on with the Switch 2. Nintendo has had some releases on the Switch. That should end officially. I believe that consoles should only have a year transition, and then you really got to get people on board with total exclusives, which Nintendo Switch 2 has already had a lot of exclusives. But total, focus, exclusives, no dual releases like Tomodachi Life anymore, anything like that on the previous system. That's how you force people to move on. And so Switch 2 and Nintendo will be graded on doing that too, cutting the cord off the Switch 1, which I think Nintendo generally does a much better job of that than PlayStation or Xbox.
Boosts to make the graphics a little bit better or play a little bit smoother.
What? You've got to be kidding me!
And let's just talk about some of the games now. So I talked about Mario Kart World, which was a launch game, and then we got Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I talked about this game quite a lot. I mean,
Wonderful.
It's kind of like a drug-fueled fever dream, and I know that's a strange thing to say, but that's what the game is. You're just going around smashing everything. You get to turn into other alternate forms that help you get to different sections of the game. It's wild, it's strange, it's odd, and it's kind of fantastic. It is.
Never thought I would like this game more than Donkey Kong Country 1 or 2. Never thought that, after Donkey Kong 64 really didn't, do it for people, back in the day. And to return to a 3D Donkey Kong and have it be just so fucking excellent, it's one of the best things that Nintendo has done in years.
It was a bit of a gamble from Nintendo not to make a straight, a Donkey Kong Country game. And I kind of wanted that, I must admit.
And to make this a Switch 2 exclusive only, and it's not like a Mario Kart. And to sell millions and millions of copies. Well deserved. Well deserved, by the way.
But this was a bit of a surprise. This is a bit of a wild one, made by the same team that did Mario Odyssey. And you can kind of see that in some of the graphical departments of this game. But it's a wild, fever-pitch dream of a game that is so surreal that you have to kind of play it to experience it. And this gets a big thumbs up for me. I really like Donkey Kong Bonanza. We got Pokemon ZA. A lot of people were very happy about this game. A lot of people
it was a cross-gen.
No, this is not taking advantage of the Switch 2. What is this? This is not very good. I thought it was pretty okay. I kind of like the combat of it all. I thought it was fine. I mean, obviously we're going to get Pokemon games going forward. They're going to be phenomenal looking. I really do believe that. But, it's just a game to pick up and to go collect some Pokemon. I thought it was all right. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. This game, one thing I want to say about this game, it really kind of shows you what the next Zelda can potentially look like. I don't think they're going to go for that, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom look. I'm sure they'll pick a new graphical style going forward, but it kind of shows you what this future kind of Zelda game is possibly going to look like. And I thought,
love that game.
Did a really good job with this. I really enjoyed playing it quite a bit.
That's a 10 out of 10 for me also. But Switch 2 had 3 10 out of 10s that first year. Now, this first half of 2026, not as strong. Okay? So, Metroid Prime 4 to Mario Tennis Aces to Yoshi's Mysterious Book. Those 3 games versus... Oh, actually, and you want to include Pokemon Palkia and Tomodachi Life. Those 5 games versus Mario Kart, the end of 2025, or Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Pokemon ZA, Hyrule Warriors... Those 4 games, right? Those 4 games versus the 5 games that came after Hyrule Warriors. 3 of those 4 games were a 10 out of 10 for me to start with the Switch 2. And then the 5 games that have come out after, the only one I bought was Mario Tennis Aces. Because I didn't buy Yoshi, I didn't buy Pokemon, I didn't buy... I did buy Metroid, obviously. But, yeah, I would say, Mario Tennis Aces was the best of that second bunch, and they don't hold a candle to at least 3 of those 4 games in that first batch of Switch 2 stuff. So basically, there's been 9 first-party, big Nintendo releases. And I don't care for Tomodachi Life and Pokemon Pokia, but those sold well. So those are successes in their own right. And I did like Mario Tennis Aces, but they didn't sell very well. And I did like Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, but I don't think that sold great. Right? And Metroid didn't sell great or review great. So it's been a mixed bag since Bonanza, to be honest.
And yes, the big game of last year was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And was it beyond expectations? I think it was. I think even for myself, I enjoyed the game quite a lot. Did it live up to my expectations? The expectations have been building in my mind for so many years. This is a game that was just delayed and delayed and delayed. So we were finally getting it. And I think it's a really good game. I think there's a lot to really enjoy here. Some of the riding your motorcycle through the desert got a little old. And I felt like it was just a bit of an add-on to connect all the different sections of the game. That bit really brought it down for me. But the gameplay was here. The storyline was kind of interesting. I like the graphics of it. I like the gameplay. I thought they did a lot right with this. But I think it left a lot of people disappointed.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of this game? Did it leave you disappointed?
That's the definition of disappointing right there. It's like, okay, you're not talking about a game that's just truly awful, but you're just left, empty from it. Just You thought maybe that could be the game of the year, and it just didn't hold a candle to Mario Kart World, which some people are disappointed with that. I don't know how, but it didn't hold a candle to World, didn't hold a candle to Donkey Kong, didn't hold a candle to, in my opinion, to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, even though they did actually review around the same.
Let me know down below.
And to be fair, Nintendo Switch 2 had my top 3 favorite games of 2025. Like I said, I mentioned them. Bonanza, Hyrule Warriors is actually second for me, and then Mario Kart World was third, which I'm shocked that was third, but it was for me. And then I get to Clair Obscur. It was my 4th favorite game, which actually did win Game of the Year in most publications. But I'm a Nintendo guy, so come on, give me a break.
How about we avoid any standing water? Those things seem pretty territorial.
Now we got to talk about third-party games. Some of these were launch games, and I got to play them at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. One of them was
I remember Wii U had a bunch of third-party games at launch, and I was mostly a Nintendo guy most of my life up to the Wii U, right? So, I played on other systems here and there, and I had other systems here and there, but I was mostly a Nintendo guy. And with the Wii U, getting a bunch of these third-party games, it was really my first time, beating stuff like Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed 4 and stuff like Darksiders 2 and games like that were, third-party, Wii U games. And Switch 2, I feel like is more the Wii U it's like, the Wii to the Wii U is the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, except the Switch 2 is more successful than the Wii U. Obviously, it's already outsold it. But in the sense that the graphics are more on par with the current systems, the Switch was getting long in the tooth and very old very fast, and could not get a lot of these third-party games. And now the Switch 2 can. Mostly because Series S games are getting supported still, really.
Street Fighter 6. And it was kind of amazing to see the next generation Street Fighter game playing on a Switch 2. I was like, this is pretty good. And I was beating the heck out of Victor Lucas while we were there. It was a lot of fun. And I thought they did a good port. It's a very good, competent port. And Cyberpunk was also released. And one kind of interesting thing about that game is the entire game is on the carts. And you got to applaud that. You really have to applaud that when they're able to do that. So you feel like
you never cared about Cyberpunk.
Buying that game. You're not downloading it. I thought they did a really good job with Cyberpunk. And there was Hogwarts Legacy.
In fact, I wanted to get a PS5 at launch back in the day for Cyberpunk. Believe it or not. And then, couldn't buy a PS5 anywhere. Thanks, scalpers. Didn't get a PS5 for years. Ended up getting one for Astrobot and then to stream on the channel. But, I was never a fan of Cyberpunk because it launched in such a bad state. And I don't care how much they fix the game, I'll still never forgive them for that. Did eventually play a little Cyberpunk. I think I got a stream of it up. And I wasn't impressed. So.
Gigantic game that my wife finished on the PS5 Pro, and she just loved it. It's one of her favorite games of all time. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but she is.
And I know this is talking more in the future, but since it's already been announced, it is kind of included as a bump for the Switch 2 in year 1. Call of Duty is coming back to Nintendo for the first time since Call of Duty Ghost. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, which I'm actually kind of excited for, it's coming to the Switch 2. Now, look, again, if you do have options like I do and you do have multiple systems, I'm playing this on PlayStation. But it is nice, if you only have a Nintendo console, you can once again get Call of Duty this fall.
She loved it, and they did a very competent port to the Switch 2. Yes, speaking of my wife, she enjoyed Pokemon Pokopia. A game that was definitely not my cup of tea. She loved it, though. She fell in love with it. And that's one of those games that's kind of like a life simulator. It's a Pokemon game, some Minecraft going on, some Tranquist Pillars going on. There's a lot going on in that game to please a lot.
It's got a high
of
80s on Metacritic, so I can't complain. It's not my style of game, though.
And we have upcoming games. We have the new Star Fox coming out that I haven't talked about.
Now, yeah, that's going to conclude our year 1 review. I'm going to say 8 out of 10. And to quickly preview year 2, like you said, Star Fox is coming. That instantly is really nice to kick off year 2. And we know Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is coming. That could be a big game. Dustbloods. That's nice. Splatoon Raiders coming. And I think that's about it. And we really do need a Nintendo Direct. We really do need more. I expect within the next year we see a 3D Mario. Hopefully within year 2. If we don't, that's going to be a bad thing for year 2.
Online, and that's kind of a remake of the Nintendo 64 version of the game. That's a pretty good game. And I really love the graphical upgrade of this game. So I'm looking forward to playing it. And I'll definitely do a side-by-side comparison to the old game, to the new game. So something to kind of look forward to. I think I'm looking forward to Star Fox, the new one, which is kind of the old one.
Let's go already. Enemy targets up ahead. Let's rock and roll.
And a new Fire Emblem game is coming out with Fortune's Weave.
Yep.
And I really love the graphical style of this game that they've gone with, and kind of like a gladiator style look to it all, and that kind of changes it all up from kind of like medieval fantasy. And I like the look of the game, and I'm looking forward to the storyline and seeing what that's all about. So some upcoming really interesting Nintendo Switch 2 games. And so Nintendo did something very interesting as well this year. They released the Virtual Boy console for the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. And this was a very fascinating thing.
Alright, I'm not going to sit here and listen about the Virtual Boy. It sucks that you can't play that on your television without the headset on. That they want you to buy that stupid-ass peripheral. But whatever. Anyway, what do you guys think? What do you think about the Switch 2 year 1? Give it a score out of 10 in the comments below. And let me know what you all are thinking. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. See ya.